Hi there, this is Michael Tonis, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to draw the word love in graffiti style letters. First off, you'll need some materials, a piece of paper and a ruler, a pencil. I'm using a Prismacolor ebony pencil, a marker, and also an eraser. This is a kneaded eraser, but you can use whatever eraser you have. So to begin with, let's set a baseline for our graffiti style letters. Just go ahead and use your ruler to draw a line on your paper, and then I'm using a spacing of 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 2 inches on the left and right. And now we're going to go ahead and draw a line across that to form the top line. So let's find the center of that. Since we know we're drawing the word love, it only has 4 letters, and we'll start to the left of center with the O. And then we'll go ahead and go to the right of center with the V, and then place the E. Remember to draw lightly because we will be making some adjustments here. The E is not a normal E. We'll draw a little stick and then a loop, and then come in and draw another loop right here. Alright, now that loop in the bottom kind of hung too low, so let's go ahead and tighten that up. Remember, drawing is a process of making corrections. So something like that right there, and then right over here, the L. Alright, so we could draw them straight up and down like that, or we could draw them at an angle. And I'm going to redraw these now with a slant, so you can see how that will look. And that's the way we will make our letters. Something more like that right there. That should give our graffiti letters some more energy and motion. So now we need to begin to shape these letters. Let's see here on the V, let's draw some little serifs or wings, and we'll also do the same here on the L, matching the angle there. And see that up and down there, we'll put one of those on the L. And we'll start piecing together how these letters are going to relate to each other, just how these different components all match up. And now we're going to clean this up a little bit. So, alright, clean that up a little bit. Let's see, lighten that a little bit, get rid of some of our previous lines that we made so we can see a little better how we're going to draw these letters. Let's give that curve a little more flow there. So you want to work with your letters until you're happy with the look and feel of them, and then we're going to come in and start drawing rectangles around the parts of these stick letters. And I'm not going to worry about these rectangles overlapping. In fact, I'm going to intentionally have them not entirely overlap at places. And you'll see how that all adds to the look and feel of the letters as we get to the more refined stages of drawing. There, that has a good strong feel to it. I think it needs to be a little wider though, because I'd like it to overlap the O. Now, the kind of O that I like doing, it's sort of an O that loops into itself and has a beginning and an end, rather than just being a perfect circle. It comes right into itself like that. So there are many ways you can do a letter. It's just my personal preference. So let's let the part of the V here overlap the O and connect with it there. And down here we need some more rectangles. Now I've got to decide on the bottom here if that's going to be a point or if that's going to be flat. So I'm going to try to draw it here as a point and see if that works for me. And on the E, we're going to draw a rectangle here on that stick. And now we're going to just slide over a little bit to create the loop for the inside of the upper part of the E. And we're going to cut down right there. And then we're going to come over the top. right there, let that tuck in behind the V, and then this comes down and around. We'll go ahead and let that part go thick, and then cut right up around here like this, and cut over, and then we're going to sort of do the opposite here of what we have on the top. Something like that right there. Now as I'm looking at this negative space in here, I feel like that E could be a little fatter. I feel like there's too big a gap there, right there and there. It's a similar shape, but I still don't like how far the V is away from the E. So I'm going to try making some adjustments to the V and see, does that work right there? If we let that kick down a little bit, well, it kind of does, but maybe it makes it look like a Y. So we'll do something like that, but we're going to go ahead and bring it up higher. And as you do your letters, these kind of things you can do to add in there, add some little part that sticks out or kicks out to fix the spacing between letters. Now here I think that thickness is such that this O would probably benefit from cutting a little deeper right there, a little higher right there. Again, just working to build consistency between the letters. Yeah, something more like that. And I can do a little more on here to emphasize the thick and thin. Alright, so over here on the L, I think that if we kick part of that out too, that's going to give it a little more of a feeling like it's similar to the E. And then let's adjust this slightly, make it a little longer. I'm starting to feel like all these letters belong to the same word, like they all are coming together. And that's what you want to do. You want to work with it until it feels like the whole design works together. All the angles, the curves. Now we're going to use our eraser to just clean this up. It'd be a good time to pause right now and work on your base drawing. This is basically just removing some of the construction lines, but still leaving the lines that let us show what the letters are for inking. And in a moment we'll be grabbing our marker and we'll be going over this and making additional minor corrections as we go. A paintbrush is always a good tool to just dust off the eraser garbage. Alright, now it's time to do our inking. I'm going to use this marker and I'm going to just start drawing these lines, trying to be smooth and flowing as I go. Now when these two rectangles intersect, I'm going to let that intersection be part of the design. And go ahead and kick that in a little bit right there. Just add some extra energy and interest to our letters with those little tiny connections there. Sometimes you can sort of fabricate a little notch. There you go. And now with the O, going to tuck that right in behind there, and I'm going to go ahead and draw that part of the V right now so that I don't accidentally draw over it. And we'll pull that around, stop right there at the L, and coming out the bottom side of the L, come back up around and complete our curve. And there we go, and that L just has good motion to it. I'm sorry, that O has good motion to it and tucks right up in there. Now the V, remember we made a little extra notch here. I think squaring off the bottom is going to help me. I'm going to just step right in there. Here I'm going to just fabricate a little bit of a notch. A little bit of a notch right there. Come up here and finish off the V. And now the E, we'll do this little part that kicks up and just work our way around these curves carefully. And we're just about done with our first inking pass here. When I say first, it might be our last too. So there we have LOVE in graffiti style letters, and a little more erasing to clean up our construction lines, and this pass will be finished. Next we're going to move on to some shading, so you may want to pause here until you catch up with this section. And dust that off with the paintbrush. Alright, now we're going to take the pencil and we're going to cut in some shading here. And what this is the idea that the letters are reflecting the world around them. It's going to be a smooth tonal shading from dark to light that we're going to work up inside the letters. And just parts of it here. Just giving the idea that it's reflecting the world around us. And so part of the reason we don't run it all the way to the edge is that creates a little bit of the illusion like the letter has a bevel on it, or it's picking up some rim light. This is not really a true reflection. It's a shorthand, if you will. It's a look that we generate that is a fantasy look, but it's effective in making your letters pop and have a nice feel to them. A little bit of shading there where those letters overlap. We'll add some visual depth. Alright, same thing on the V here. Let's just work those little parts up there. And a line right here at the base. And cutting up a little bit. Nice thing about working this with a pencil right now is we do have to erase. We certainly can. Work up a little bit more on the stroke of the V. And now we're down to our E. About to finish up this phase of the shading here. The decorating of our LOVE in graffiti letters. Couple of more pieces to do. Just a little bit right in there, and I think we're about to call this done. Let's get some shading in there where that V overlaps the E. So there we have the reflection shading on the love, and what we can do now is draw a border for it. And here we'll just try to keep a relatively even spacing around the outside of the letters. Again, I'm using my pencil for this. And just trying to match the curves. You can see there that's not quite perfect. It got a little tight there, but I'm going to refine it a little bit to the outside. And I think as we move on, we'll have enough variation that that will just be fine. We'll finish up the side of the V, and now we're going to cut around the E. And I'm getting a little tight there. In fact, I feel like that's too tight. I'm going to need to go ahead and erase that and give that a try again. I don't want it to be so tight in there that we don't have any separation. And now come down around this notch. Alright, so we're about to move up the side, and we got to decide whether we're going to go in there or not. I think that that's too tight a space to get inside for what I want to do. We're just going to notch it right there to indicate that indentation, and erase that little piece there. So now over here, that's a little wide, and I'm going to go ahead and clean that up, and we'll redo that part of it. a little bit tighter to the letter there. And now sliding across the top. Again, we'll cut down, and we've got to decide how tight we want to go in there. I think we can cut down on this. That's a pretty wide opening, so whereas we didn't go inside the E, we will go ahead and cut right in there in that notch of the L. Roll over the O. Come up across the top of the V. Here we're not going to go into that tight space, so we're just going to notch in and out of there. And now we're going to slide down the other side of the V and roll over the O, roll over the E after we clean up that little mistake right there. And almost home free now. A little bit up right here and across. And there we have an outline border. So what can we do to this now? Let's add a drop shadow. And the drop shadow basically is the same shape that you have already drawn. You're just going to draw it again, except you're only going to see the part that would fall as a shadow, say to the one side, and we are making this drop shadow to the lower right. So again, just mimicking that curve right there. And now for the E. See how we just step over there, and we can mimic that little notch down and to the right. And you know, this doesn't have to be a perfect representation of a shadow, but it needs to be close enough to what one would expect to see that we don't question it too much. So there we've got love. It's got a nice effect on it. It's got an outline border. We've got to decide if we want to put a little bit up here. I think that we can get away with just a little bit right there. Just a tad right in there. And we're about ready to call this done. So there you have love and graffiti letters. Use this to draw your name or draw this for someone you love. And above all, have fun while you're drawing. Thanks for watching.